Does your mind ever feel like a web browser with 20 different tabs open all at once?
One tab is replaying an awkward conversation from last week.
Another is worrying about a presentation you have next month.
A third tab is trying to decide what to have for dinner, but you're analyzing every possible health and budget implication.
All the while, music from a forgotten video is playing in the background, and a little pinwheel of death is spinning on the most important tab.
It's noisy, it's chaotic, and it is completely exhausting.
If you are someone who thinks and then rethinks and then analyzes your own thoughts, you know this feeling intimately. It's when your greatest strength, your powerful and analytical mind, starts to feel less like a tool you can use and more like a cage you're trapped in.
You feel mentally drained, stuck in a state of analysis paralysis. Every small decision feels monumental, and every past mistake is on a constant replay loop. You want peace, you want clarity, but the engine of your mind just will not switch off.
But what if I told you there isn't something wrong with you?
What if there was a clear psychological reason for this mental chaos?
What if you could finally understand the hidden programming that runs these thought patterns?
Stay with me because we are about to decode it.
First things first, if you identify as an overthinker, you are not broken or defective. In fact, it's often a sign of a highly creative, empathetic, and intelligent mind.
You're a deep thinker, and the world needs deep thinkers.
But that same powerful cognitive machinery can get stuck in overdrive, turning a gift into a source of profound anxiety. This is why we say overthinking isn't a character flaw. It's a feature of your mind trying to protect you, just working in overdrive. The problem is that this protective feature can trap you in endless loops of worry and indecision. It can damage your confidence, strain your relationships, and steal your peace. So in this video, we're going to give you the blueprint to your own mind. We're not just going to talk about symptoms. We are going to break down the 4 key psychological drivers that cause overthinking. This framework will give you the language to understand exactly what's happening in your head when you feel stuck. Think of them as the 4 master programs running in the background. We'll cover the fear of getting it wrong, the need for absolute control, and the twin traps of the past and future. And the 4th one is the most surprising because it's tied directly to how you see yourself. By the end of this video, you won't just feel understood, you'll have a new level of self-awareness. You'll understand the why behind your thinking, and you'll be equipped with a tool to manage it. So let's dive into the first and perhaps most common psychological driver of overthinking. This is the fear of making the wrong choice. This driver turns every decision, from what to wear to a party to which career path to follow, into a high-stakes exam you're terrified of failing. It's not just about making a good choice, it's about making the absolute mathematically perfect choice. Psychologically, this is powered by a powerful cognitive bias known as loss aversion. Research shows us that the pain of losing something feels about twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining something equivalent. Your brain is hardwired to avoid regret at all costs. So when you face a decision, your mind doesn't just weigh the pros and cons. It goes into overdrive, trying to predict and neutralize every possible negative outcome, no matter how remote. This creates what psychologists call a maximizer mindset, as opposed to a satisficer mindset. A satisficer looks for an option that is good enough and meets their criteria. A maximizer needs to be sure they have explored every single option to find the absolute best one. Let's imagine someone named Alex who wants to buy a new camera.
A satisficer would find a camera in their budget with good reviews and buy it, and be perfectly happy.
But Alex, the maximizer, spends the next 3 weeks in a rabbit hole of research.
He has spreadsheets comparing sensor sizes and lens apertures. He watches dozens of hours of review videos on YouTube. He reads forum threads from 2018 about obscure firmware issues. The original joy and excitement of getting a new camera are completely gone. They've been replaced by anxiety and a paralyzing fear of picking the wrong one. Even after he finally buys one, he feels a pang of buyer's remorse, wondering if another model would have been slightly better. The mental cost of this process is enormous. The time, the energy, the peace of mind he sacrificed far outweighs any marginal benefit he might have gotten from finding the perfect camera. This fear keeps you from making decisions, which ironically is a decision in itself, the decision to remain stuck. It's the engine of analysis paralysis. You spend so much time analyzing the options that you miss the window to act entirely. Life passes you by while you're busy in your head comparing hypothetical scenarios. This fear promises safety and perfection, but delivers only stagnation and exhaustion.
Now this connects directly to our second driver, which is just as powerful.
The desperate need for absolute control. If the first driver was about fearing the wrong past decision, this one is about trying to single-handedly manage the future.
Life is inherently uncertain, and for a powerful mind, that uncertainty can feel like a direct threat.
Overthinking then becomes a coping mechanism for this anxiety. The logic goes something like this. If I can just think through every possible contingency, every potential outcome, then I won't be caught by surprise. I can create a mental fortress that will protect me from the chaos of the world.
The psychological trick here is that thinking about a problem feels like doing something about it.
It provides a temporary illusion of control, even if the thinking itself is completely unproductive.
This is deeply connected to perfectionism.
Perfectionists often believe that if they just try hard enough, think long enough, and prepare meticulously enough, they can achieve a flawless outcome.
This driver works overtime when you're facing a social situation, a difficult conversation, or a big performance.
Think about a time you had an important job interview. You didn't just prepare your answers to common questions.
You spent hours rehearsing them in your head, scripting them out word for word.
You tried to anticipate every single curveball question they could possibly throw at you. You imagined the layout of the room, the personality of the interviewer, and how you'd recover if you stumbled on a word. On the surface, this looks like diligent preparation. But underneath, it's a frantic attempt to control an uncontrollable situation. The result is that you don't walk into the interview feeling prepared and confident. You walk in rigid, exhausted, and terrified of any deviation from your mental script. You're so busy monitoring your own performance that you can't build a genuine connection with the interviewer.
This need for control promises to make you safe, but it actually makes you fragile. Any unexpected event, any question you didn't predict, can cause your entire mental structure to collapse. It's an exhausting, unwinnable war against the natural uncertainty of life.
Before we move on, does that feeling of needing to control everything sound familiar? It's an incredibly common experience for thoughtful people. If you're finding this breakdown of your own thought patterns valuable, consider subscribing. We make videos every week to help you understand your mind and live a better life.
Our first two drivers were about anticipating and managing choices. Our third driver is about where our mind chooses to live, the past or the future. This brings us to driver 3, rumination and anticipatory anxiety. Think of these as two sides of the same coin, one looking backward and the other looking forward.
Rumination.
Rumination is not the same as quiet reflection or learning from your mistakes. Reflection is productive. It leads to insight and closure. Rumination is a loop. It's when you passively and repeatedly chew on negative feelings and past events without moving toward a solution. It's replaying that awkward thing you said at a party over and over again. It's endlessly analyzing a past failure, not to learn, but to bathe in the feelings of shame or regret. Psychologically, this creates well-worn neural pathways in your brain. The more you ruminate on a specific thought, the easier it is for your brain to go there next time, like a path in a forest that gets deeper with every footstep. But our minds aren't just stuck in the past. They are also expert time travelers to the future, which is where we find the other side of this driver, anticipatory anxiety.
This is the what-if engine of overthinking. What if I fail the test?
What if they don't like me?
What if I get sick?
This isn't productive planning. It's a specific type of worrying called catastrophizing. Your mind doesn't just consider a negative outcome. It jumps to the worst possible scenario and treats it as a probability. A tiny stomach ache becomes a sign of a fatal disease. A small mistake at work becomes the reason you'll surely be fired.
Imagine trying to sleep at night. First, your mind replays an awkward silence in a conversation from earlier in the day. You feel the embarrassment all over again, cringing in the dark. Then, as soon as that thought fades, your brain immediately jumps to a meeting you have next week. You start worrying about how you'll sound, what people will think, and all the ways it could go wrong. Your body is lying in bed, but your mind is ricocheting between a past you cannot change and a future that hasn't happened. The present moment, the only place where peace exists, is completely inaccessible. This driver traps you on a pendulum, swinging endlessly between regret for the past and anxiety for the future.
This leads us to our final driver, the one we promised would be the most surprising.
The first 3 drivers are about things your mind does.
This fourth driver is about who you think you are. It's driver 4, the identity of the thinker. For many of us, especially bright and analytical people, thinking isn't just an activity, it's a core part of our self-concept.
You don't just overthink, you are an overthinker.
And you're afraid that if you stop, you'll lose a part of yourself.
This is where the psychology gets really deep.
You might pride yourself on being the thoughtful one in your family or the prepared one in your friend group. Your ability to analyze situations from every angle is a source of validation and praise from others. It's your superpower. It's what makes you, you. The fear, then, is that if you let go of the constant mental chatter, you'll become less intelligent, less prepared, or less careful. You might worry that you'll miss something important, or that you will just become simple. This creates a powerful psychological conflict known as cognitive dissonance. On one hand, you know that overthinking causes you pain and anxiety. On the other hand, you believe that overthinking is an essential part of who you are and what makes you valuable. It's incredibly difficult to stop doing something that you believe is fundamental to your identity. Let's think about someone named Sarah, who is the designated planner for all her friends' trips. She prides herself on thinking of everything. Restaurant reservations, backup plans for bad weather, even the dietary restrictions of every person. Her friends love her for it. They call her the trip master.
But privately, planning these trips is a source of immense stress.
She lies awake at night worrying about flight delays and hotel mix-ups. When a friend suggests they just wing it for a weekend, Sarah feels a wave of panic.
The panic isn't just about the trip going badly. It's about her losing her role in the group. If she's not the planner, what is she?
Untangling yourself from this identity is the final and often most difficult step in taming overthinking. It requires understanding that you can be thoughtful without being trapped in thought, and you can be intelligent without being mentally exhausted.
Your value does not come from the volume of your worries.
So now that we understand the 4 drivers, the big question is, what can we actually do about it? Understanding is the first step, but action is where change happens. I want to give you a simple, powerful tool you can use anytime you find yourself stuck in a loop. I call it the 3-step circuit breaker. Its purpose is to interrupt the overthinking pattern and ground you back in the present moment.
Step 1 is to label.
The moment you notice your mind spinning, just say to yourself, I am in an overthinking loop. Don't judge it, don't fight it, just acknowledge it. This simple act of labeling creates a little bit of space between you and the thoughts. Step 2 is to reframe. Ask yourself one simple question. Is this thought productive, or is it just a loop? Productive thinking moves towards a solution or acceptance. A loop just spins in place. 9 times out of 10, you'll realize it's just a loop. This question reframes the activity from important thinking to unproductive noise. Step 3 is the most important. Redirect. You need to break the mental pattern by engaging your physical senses for just 5 minutes. This pulls your attention out of your abstract thoughts and into the real physical world. You could listen to one full song, paying attention to every instrument. You could make a cup of tea and focus only on the smell of the steam and the warmth of the mug. Or you could do 10 push-ups and focus on the feeling of your muscles working. The activity itself doesn't matter as much as the act of intentional redirection. So remember, label, reframe, redirect. That's your circuit breaker. So we've journeyed deep into the mind of an overthinker. We've seen how these 4 powerful drivers work behind the scenes. Remember those 20 open browser tabs we talked about at the beginning? Now you have a name for each of them. One tab is the fear of making the wrong choice. Another is the need for absolute control. A third is the pendulum swing of rumination and anxiety. And the fourth, the deepest one, is the identity of the thinker. These aren't random, personal failings. They are predictable patterns of a mind trying to protect itself. Understanding these drivers is the first, most crucial step to taking back your mental space. It allows you to look at your own thoughts with compassion and curiosity instead of frustration. You can begin to see the loops for what they are, just old programming running on autopilot. And here is the most important truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts, and you get to decide which ones you listen to. You are the one who can choose to hit the circuit breaker. You have the power to close the tabs. I'm genuinely curious which of the 4 drivers resonated with you the most. Was it the fear of mistakes, the need for control, the past and future loops, or the trap of identity? Let me know in the comments below. Reading your experiences helps us all feel less alone. If you want to keep learning how to understand your mind, please consider subscribing to the channel.
Thank you for thinking with me today.